What's up, guys? This is the Osmo.com Night Shift Podcast. Talking some MLB for Monday, July 30th. We got 9 games to talk about. I'm going to run through them very quickly. Josh will be not on the strategy video tomorrow. He'll be gone for the next couple of days. So you'll be getting a lot of me. I'll do a solo strategy video tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning, and then I'll be on the live stream with Chris Monday and Tuesday as well. The plan is for Josh to be back on Wednesday, but we will confirm that as we get closer. Check out the Spotlight Hitters, Pitchers, and Stacks. Those will be out tomorrow morning. For the 9-game slate, it will be the perfect pitcher article from Osmo. Since it is a Monday, we'll have the ownership projections and the rankings out. Ownership projections, hopefully, by the time we start going live on the strategy video. All right, let's do this very quickly. Want to make this as succinct as possible. We'll start out with the Phillies and Red Sox. We've got Aaron Nola going up against David Price. Nola 9K, Price is 8,600. Really tough spot to play Nola. He's a guy I could actually see surviving in Boston, but he's been much better at home. Very good against righties, good against lefties too. I mean, he's just a good pitcher all around, doesn't give up a ton of hard contact. But for 9K, going into Fenway, I think it's just going to be a pass for me. There's a lot of guys I like in this mid-tier, like 7,500 to 9K, so I'm probably going to pass on Nola. That being said, I don't think I'm going to be super heavy on the Red Sox unless they're just going to be completely unowned. I don't see why they would be with the 5 total. My favorite play here is probably Mookie Betts. And I will just leave it at that. I mean, anytime Boston is going to be one of the, or not one of the top 4 or 5 stacks in terms of ownership on the slate, according to our ownership projections, I'm always looking to stack them. So it's just going to be an ownership thing with them. Right now, I don't plan on being on them very much. Price on the other side, 8,600. The Phillies have actually been bad against lefties, which I wouldn't expect. With guys like Rhys Hoskins, Carlos Santana, they've got Asdrubal Cabrera in there, Maikel Franco hitting a lot better as of late too. So it doesn't make sense, but their numbers against lefties on the season are just not good at all. So I don't mind Price for 8,600. I'm not a huge fan of his. He doesn't get a lot of the fancy stats that I like, but just seems like somewhat of a safe play here. So this game's not super interesting to me. I like Rhys on the other side for 5,200 if Price is one of the chalkier options, but that is about it. Let's go to Marlins and Braves. We've got Wei-Yin Chen going up against Julio Teheran. Chen for 4,800. He's a much different pitcher against righties and lefties, so I don't play a lot of lefties against him. I try to avoid that as much as possible, so I won't have a lot of Freeman and Markakis, but I will have Albies, Acuna, Tyler Flowers. I absolutely love in this spot for 3,400. One of my favorite plays on the slate. And then Johan Camargo against lefties grades out really well for me as well. And I don't think many will be on him for 4,100. So I like the Brave stack in GPPs. Not super wild about playing the lefties, but if I'm playing a bunch of Brave stacks, which I plan on doing against Chen, who's got home run issues, and it's 85 degrees in this park, then I will have some Freeman and Markakis, but a lot less than I usually would against a lefty, a bad lefty, I guess, because Chen against left-handed hitting is surprisingly very, very good. All right, Teheran on the other side. 7,300. I'm assuming he's going to get some ownership, but not the easiest strikeout matchup. You've got Dietrich and Bohr in there. 2 hitters that I'm not super worried about, but still guys I somewhat respect. And really those top 4 hitters for the Marlins with Anderson and Real Muto in there, all guys I respect. Not the easiest strikeout matchup. Teheran can miss a ton of bats at times. He hasn't been over the last couple games, and he just started against the Marlins and only got a 7.1% swinging strike rate. So that is a little bit concerning for Teheran. If he's going to be the chalk, then I don't want any part of that. And I actually like a few guys ahead of him. So kind of down on Teheran for the start, and maybe going to target him with some Marlins bats. Cleveland and Minnesota, we've got Shane Bieber going up against Irvin Santana. Bieber, 7,700 on DK, coming to Minnesota. He is really, really struggling with hard contact. And Bieber's a guy I like. 11% swinging strike rate, above average chase rate, all that. But it's just, like you saw it last start, I believe it was against Pittsburgh. And he just got crushed. And that's going to happen time to time, it looks like, because over 40% hard contact to righties and lefties for Bieber. And it's not like the Twins have slouch players. They lost Escobar. That's a pretty decent loss. But Rosario and Polanco are two awesome plays that I love in this game. In that park, which I think is underrated for hitting. It looks like a little bit of wind blowing out to right. I even like Logan Morrison. Not ready to go with Miguel Sano just yet. But I do... Those three guys I just mentioned, Rosario, Polanco especially, and then Morrison will be guys I'll target heavily against Bieber. Irvin Santana, I don't think I'm going to 6,500 for him. Just too tough of a matchup. He went 97 pitches, which was good to see. Got a few strikeouts in 5 innings. 5 strikeouts, 5 innings, 7 hits, 3 earned runs. But the swinging strike rate was not anything that stuck out to me, 6%. And now you go against a team that doesn't allow you to get swings and misses. So once again, it'll be those top 3. I sound like a broken record, but Lindor, Brantley, Ramirez, and then some Yonder Alonso. It's going to be a lot of Indians bats here for me. Especially the top half of the order. The bottom half drops off significantly, but the top I'm super interested in. All right, Colorado and St. Louis, Tyler Anderson against Carlos Martinez. Anderson is a guy that I like a lot, but when you look at what the Cardinals have done over the last month against lefties, and even for the year, they're above average on the year against lefties, 104 WRC plus, just kind of a catch-all stat. Their power isn't great for the year, but if you look at the last 30 days, the Cardinals are 4th in WRC plus, a 182 ISO, and this is against lefties, a 367 on base percentage, striking out below league average. Ozuna's starting to hit better. Paul DeJong in there, a guy I really like against lefties. So I don't think I'm going super overweight on the Cardinals. Yadi's really good against lefties as well, but because I do like Anderson, I think he is a guy that can survive this matchup. More secondary stacks, if anything. And I probably won't have too much Anderson on the other side. So Carlos Martinez probably going to be the chalk. I think 7,900 for him is just too cheap. Colorado against righties outside of Coors is one of the worst splits you can get for a team. I believe they have an 80 WRC plus outside of Coors. They strike out well above league average. They're just not a good team outside of Coors against a righty, especially against lefties. They can hit them, but righties is a completely different story. And then they've got a lot of right-handed bats with Murphy and Garrett Hampson and Arenado, Desmond, Story. So this is a matchup where I can just see Carlos Martinez racking up a ton of strikeouts, and that's probably why he's going to be chalk. He's a volatile pitcher. He's dangerous as chalk. The one guy that you'd want to leverage against him with would be Charlie Blackmon, at least the guy that I would want. He's only 4,800 on DK. But Carlos Martinez, I think, is a fantastic play, assuming his ownership doesn't get too out of hand for a 9-game slate. Texas and Arizona. We've got Martin Perez against Robbie Ray. Ray is a nice pivot if Carlos Martinez is going to be the mega chalk, but I'm assuming they'll both be. The chalky pitchers in this range, I've got another guy that I like, oddly enough, a guy that I'm not usually on, but anyways, we'll get to him in a second. But Ray, just crazy strikeout upside against this Rangers team that strikes out a bunch against righties, against lefties. It doesn't really matter. And then Ray can strike out righties or lefties at around 30% clips. Hard contact's always going to be an issue for him, but even the supposed lefty mashers for Texas, like Andrews and Beltre, Andrews especially has taken a step back against lefties this year. So I'm not super worried about him. I mean, Texas does have power. I'm not expecting Ray to allow no earned runs or anything like that, but I just think the strikeouts could be here. Even if he only goes 5 or 6 innings, I think that he could rack up close to double-digit strikeouts. So just love Ray here. It's hard not to. And then Arizona bats are going to be popular against Martin Perez. He's just not going to fool you. When he's on, he's going to get a lot of ground balls. When he's not, he's going to be giving up a ton of hard contact, elevating the ball. And Pollock and Goldschmidt, they rank out as 2 of the best plays on the slate, maybe first and second top plays on the slate for me. I mean, I hate eating hitter chalk and stack chalk, but it's going to be tough for me not to want to play Pollock and Goldschmidt. So love those 2 guys. Nick Ahmed at the bottom of the order, batting 6th. J.R. Murphy batting 8th. These guys are guys I'm all interested in. Kettle Marte for 4,400. I don't think he's overpriced. He rakes lefties according to my model. Gets on base, 45% hard contact, 146 WRC plus, 268 ISO. So Kettle Marte, a sneaky part of that stack if people aren't going to be on him. Toronto, that's kind of why I want Kettle Marte to bat near the bottom of the order and Ahmed up top. But anyways, we will see what Arizona does with their lineup. Toronto and Oakland, Marco Estrada against Edwin Jackson, 2 guys that I don't want to play on this slate. Jackson will probably get some ownership being a full run favorite, minus 155. He's at home in a good park. I mean, I understand why people are probably going to get to him, but I just don't see the swing and miss in Edwin Jackson or these Toronto bats. So it's just a good park. That's about all I can say for Jackson. I don't think his return to being a good pitcher is real right now. So 6,300, I'm going to pass there. This is a bad hitting environment, but the Athletics have a they have a 4.8 run total. I was looking at Estrada's price. No, or Jackson's price. No, the A's have a 4.8 run total. Chris Davis, I think, is my favorite play in this game, but Matt Chapman not far behind him at only 4,400, and then Matt Olson for 4K, Jed Lowry for 4,200, Steven Piscotty. Those are 5 guys batting 2 through 6 that I really love. Their individual matchups against Marco Estrada, so that's where I'm going with my Oakland stacks, hoping they're a little bit under-owned. San Francisco and San Diego, we've got an under-owned stack here, I'm assuming, and then probably a pitcher that will go somewhat overlooked. Derek Holland, 7,600, getting a lot more whiffs as of late. Not someone that I like and someone who I thought was a fraud at the beginning of the year, but striking out 27% of righties this season. And you look at this San Diego lineup, and from the projected lineup that I'm seeing, Jankowski, Asuaje, Hosmer in there, he's going to get a handful of lefties, and then the righties strike out at very high rates as well. Will Myers over 30%, Villanueva 33%, Hedges 37%. I think the strikeouts are going to be here for Derek Holland. And it's San Diego. It's in San Diego. But I think he'll be less owned. He'll be the lesser-owned pitcher in this game. I'm pretty sure about that, with Lauer being only 4,200. But I like Holland for 7,600 in this park against a bad Padres team. On the other side, Lauer, I mentioned 4,200. This guy never gets priced up. Anytime you have a pitcher that's 4,200, you got to at least take a look. And I will do that. I don't know how much Lauer I'll end up with. If he's going to be the 15% 4K pitcher, then that's a pretty easy fade for me. But if he makes some lineups work, I'm fine with it. I don't think Lauer is any good really at all. He only makes sense for me if you're going with Maeda or a Garrett Cole or someone like that that's super high priced. McCutchen grades out really well for me against Eric Lauer. I love that matchup, as well as Posey. and Evan Longoria too. So if Lauer is going to be the chalk, and we'll talk about this more on the strategy video, so remind me of this if you come and chat tomorrow morning. But I really like this San Francisco team. So I'm kind of hoping Lauer is chalk so that I don't have to play him and I can play leverage bats against what I think is a pretty bad pitcher. Milwaukee and LA, the Dodgers, Freddie Peralta against Kenta Maeda. Maeda seems underpriced. 10-1 here at home against a team that strikes out a lot. It's just a really nice matchup for Maeda. The problem is now you got Moustakas in there. It's a pretty daunting top 6, but a 3.3 run total for Milwaukee is telling. I'm not the biggest Vegas guy, but definitely gets my attention when someone's got a 3.3 run total, a team that with that much power that the Brewers have, especially adding Moustakas now. Just another good power lefty. So I like Maeda a lot. I think he's probably a cash game pitcher if I'm playing cash. I think he's somewhat safe. I think the strikeouts will be there. It's just going to be a question of the power. If he's giving up the power, he may not be the top scoring pitcher, but I think he's got as good of a chance as anyone to be the top raw point scoring pitcher. So for 10-1, that's just a very obvious play for me. Freddie Peralta for 8,500, not someone I'm going to. The Dodgers almost got no hit today, but Sean Newcomb was on. I didn't see the game. I just watched the highlights. But I'm just chalking that up to being a fluke. It looks like Peralta's been figured out a little bit after those few first starts where he was just striking out everyone, it seems like. But as of late, he has not been as impressive. Had 7 strikeouts in his last game, but 7 earned runs, 2 straight games, strikeout rate, the swinging strike rate below 10, a 4.3% swinging strike rate in there. And then in his last 4 starts, no chase rates above 28.3%. So I'm a little concerned about Peralta. Now you go into LA. It seems like the Dodgers rake at home, and I can look that up actually right now. I've got the Fangraphs splits leaderboard pulled up. Let's see, 2018 versus righties at home. Let's see where the Dodgers rank. Yeah, so they're 5th in WRC plus, 319 on base percentage, 190 ISO at home. That is at home against righties. That's pretty encouraging. So not that is all that matters, but Peralta not being able to miss as many bats lately, the sick Dodgers lineup with Jock, Muncy, Grandal, Bellinger, Taylor. I mean, I'm just hoping that the Dodgers go somewhat under-owned. I didn't even know if I mentioned Machado in there. Need to mention him anytime you talk about the Dodgers, but yeah, love these Dodgers against Peralta, who I think is going to be a pretty volatile pitcher as he goes on. All right, last game of the night, Houston and Seattle. We've got Garrett Cole going up against James Paxton. 2 very good pitchers, super low total, just 7 runs here. Not as great of a pitching environment as you usually see in Seattle. 85 degrees, a little bit of wind blowing out to right, so I wouldn't be surprised if this total goes up a little bit. But it is in Seattle. Garrett Cole for 12.8 seems super overpriced to me. I get it if you're being contrarian, you want to pay up. You're hoping Maeda flops or whatever, but not even a good strikeout matchup for Cole, so it's tough for me to get to him. And bats all around are tough for me here. I think if I'm going to a pitcher, it's probably Paxton, just because this Dodgers lineup a little bit banged up. No Correa, obviously, for a long time. And then Altuve on the DL. They're going to have to throw in Reddick, probably Tony Kemp at the bottom. It's just not that intimidating of a bottom of the lineup, especially against lefties. Marwin, much better against right-handed pitchers. So I don't mind Paxton as a contrarian option against a team that people don't like to target, myself included. But this is where I'll be making somewhat of an exception. I think he's an okay pivot to Maeda. I don't like to pivot to what I think are inferior pitchers, but I think Paxton is really awesome. So I have no problem pivoting if he's going to be half the ownership or a third of the ownership of Kenta Maeda. So probably no hitters for me in that game, at least no major stacks. All right, that's going to do it for the night shift, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. Enjoy your Monday morning. Get your research in. Come to the MLB strategy video that'll be live. You can come and chat, help me out as I try to stumble through it solo. I'll be on the live stream with Chris at 6 Eastern. Check out all of our content, spotlight hitters, pitchers, stacks, the rankings, the ownership projections, the perfect pitcher article that Osmo will be putting out at about 4 Eastern. Lots coming at you. Let's make it a good last couple months of MLB season. Good luck on this slate, guys. Hit me up on Twitter in my DMs. Just tweet at me if you got any questions, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.